Hey, what's happening? So, Newcastle United and Rafa Benitez have apparently parted ways. Initial reaction. Oh, Newcastle, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing, you bad gang of idiots? I mean, I really like Newcastle United. I do. I've got such a soft spot for that team. Goes back to the 90s and maybe to the Kevin Keegan era and what have you. But yeah, I do. I've got family from that kind of way. And yeah, I've always liked Newcastle United. I love Geordies. I love the city. I love the ethos the club stood for on the pitch. Always trying to play good attacking football. They've had some great players down the years that I've really admired. And despite the fact that they've fallen on hard times in the last decade or so, compared to the 90s peak, certainly, them hiring Rafa Benitez was just the massive high point for me. And look, I'll talk a little bit more about it in a second, but I'll get lost in the Benitez. I need to tell you, this video is sponsored by OneFootball. Get the latest on this story as well and anything else that's happening in the world of football. Very, very good app, and it is integral at this time of year, in particular when it comes to the likes of transfer news, rumours, and opinion as well. So yeah, I'll put a link in the description underneath. Go through, get the app if you haven't got it already. It makes me look good. Phenomenal appointment. Came a bit too late to save them. Gets them back up as he was always good. And I was worried about Rafa when he had them in the Championship, because I love Rafa Benitez. I genuinely love him. I love him more than a man who's in his mid-30s should possibly love a goateed Spaniard in his what? Is he in his 60s by now? Late 50s? It doesn't matter. I shouldn't love him as much as I do in all not all senses, many senses. Most senses. He's great. He's a phenomenal manager, but I was terrified of him going down to the Championship because things can go wrong. It's an incredibly competitive league. It is, without a doubt, the most competitive second-tier league in world football by an absolute mile. And he did a brilliant job, brought them back up again. And I'd said this when they came up. The biggest problem Newcastle had is that you tick the box for the manager, and you need to have a top quality manager, which Man United are going to find out to their major failing in the coming 6 months or so. I think you need to have a world-class manager, and you need to be able to back that manager with the money and the players he needs to make his plan a success. And that's unfortunately for Rafa where he's fallen foul so many times. I think he's pulled by his heart a little bit too much for a very analytical man, and he is. My first interaction with Rafa Benitez rings true with everything I've ever read about him. When the likes of Jamie Carragher and Steven Gerrard talk about how they'd had a worldie of a performance, and the first words out of his mouth would be, you missed that pass there, or you didn't quite do that there, or blah, blah, blah. First time I met Rafa Benitez, he said, really good, enjoyed your show, you need to move your camera closer to the people you're recording. Brilliant. Thanks very much, Rafa. So he is a very, very analytical person, but I think he is emotionally led by things. I think he loves being at football clubs where he gets to be part of something. You know, he was deified at Liverpool. He had a similar sort of effect at Napoli, I believe, and you could see that Newcastle fans absolutely adored him. And why wouldn't he? Because he gets it. I think he gets what cities like Liverpool, like Newcastle, and there's plenty of other great cities along those lines in England and the world where football is more than just a pastime. It's a pseudo religion, and Rafa loves that, and he was such a great fit. And it's devastating because look, Mike Ashley's clearly a huge knobhead. Huge knobhead. Massive knobhead. One of the biggest knobheads, walking the earth right now, who isn't involved in politics. And maybe he is. He'd suit it wonderfully. Get him on Team Farage. It's crazy the situation that Newcastle have ended up in. Now, look, clearly he's not either got the money or is not prepared to invest any more money in that. And, Rafa's been looking to extend his contract. We know he's got, at the time of film, he's got 6 days left on his contract. So, it stands to reason that Newcastle could come back with a mega offer. And there's been all this talk of a mega money takeover. But for Benitez, it's just a season too much. I understand it. I'm sure everyone understands it. So many broken promises down the way. And you've seen what he can do with the bare minimal resources. And people forget this at times because Newcastle are, I think, a really, really big club. They've got that massive stadium. They've got a massive fan base. The players they've got there, I mean, so many of those guys were still the best guys they had when they came up from the Championship. That's not a way to make a competitive football club. Rafa Benitez is... I'll be careful when I say this, take my meaning on this. When I say Benitez is much bigger than Newcastle, a fully functioning Newcastle with the right owners, with that infrastructure that they've got in place, as I say, with the stadium, with the fan base and all that stuff, and the brand recognition that Newcastle's got, I think are a massive football team. But right now, given the condition of the playing squad and all the stuff around it and the ownership, Rafa Benitez is much bigger than Newcastle. And he will be gutted about that because he desperately wants to build a dynasty somewhere. He wanted to do it at Liverpool and he had terrible owners there at the time. He ended up in pitch battles. And I just wonder when he's got to the point where he's like, well, look, I've done so much for the fans. I've asked for this. I've proven myself with what I've been given, and I've proven that I can deliver more the more I am given. So give me what I need, and I'll take Newcastle wherever you want Newcastle to go. And it speaks volumes to the ownership and the directorship of that company that they're not prepared to back him. I'll give you something that puts all this into context. By the way, is the current managerial odds for the replacement for Rafa Benitez. Time of recording, Jose Mourinho is the favourite for the job. Bear in mind, when I actually sat down to record this, the favourite for the job was Mikel Arteta. And then, I mean, fine, because Mourinho, there was talk about the big owners coming in and Mourinho's going to be top of the charts for them. And maybe that's influenced Rafa. Maybe he's gone, well, look, if you're only going to get a new owner in and he's going to boot me for Mourinho, a guy whose stock is as low as it's been in his entire managerial career, then maybe I'll go before I'm pushed. And I think that's an absolute genius move from Rafa if that's the case. But then you look at the other guys and it's a who's who of absolute no marks. Gary Monk, Steve Bruce. Like, for all that the Newcastle fans are laughing their tits off at that Sunderland documentary on Netflix, you could have Steve Bruce as your next manager, lads. So basically all I'm saying, if you own a local stables in the northeast region, I'd be bolting down the doors, I'd be battening down the hatches, because basically you're entering the danger zone. If you're of the equine species variety, you're entering the danger zone. Surely Mike Ashley is not so fucking stupid that even he can look at that and go, yeah, I'll be fine. Or I'll be fine. Or whatever he sounds. And think, Gary Monk, reasonable replacement. You're going down. You hire Gary Monk, or you hire Steve Bruce, you're getting relegated. You're simply getting relegated. And maybe there's some half-decent managers there or thereabouts, but Rafa Benitez has won La Liga, he's won the UEFA Cup, he's won the Champions League, he's won the FA Cup, he's got Newcastle promoted to the Premier League. There is no managers on that list who, for a start, unless you're going to give them the mega money, like Mourinho's not going to want to manage Newcastle under the conditions that Rafa Benitez has had at that football club. Get fucked. He knows he'll walk into another half-decent job with plenty of wedge to spend, or he'll kick around for a bit until one develops. There's no way. And if you've got that money to give Mourinho, just give it to Rafa. Just give it to Rafa Benitez. He'll do you just as good a job. Unfortunately, there's a brand recognition, I think, that comes with Mourinho that thinks he'll do a better job because, look, he has delivered bigger silverware more recently than Rafa. But I think on a level and as tacticians, as genuine pitch-side managers, I think Benitez is as good, just as good. It's just harder to weigh that up because, unfortunately, Mourinho's been managing the best of them and keeping those jobs and been winning things. And you can make a case against Rafa, which I can't be asked to do because he was asked ultimately. But it's crazy. I mean, look, what next for Rafa then? The Chelsea job's vacant. I know that Frank Lampard is wanted desperately by the fans there, but I mean, that just shows the absolute insanity that Chelsea are living in at the moment. Would Rafa want to go to a club where he can't, he's going to be hamstrung in the transfer market? I think he would, he knows that club now. I think he would take that in the short term just to get himself back on the horse. And I think all you've got to do is deliver top four. I don't think the job is as difficult this season. I think if they were to have an extended transfer ban, I think it would be. They do need a rebuild, but they do still have very, very good players and winners there as well. Arsenal are in disarray, Manchester United in disarray. So I think you could just take Chelsea with a good manager and guide them back into the top four and just keep the ship steady. But past that, I mean, there's not many. I mean, let me know where you think Rafa could or should go next. But it's a shit show. It's an absolute shit show. I think Rafa Benitez is a phenomenal manager, and I genuinely hope he gets to go to a club that deserves him and respects him, which is why it'd be horrible for him to go back to Chelsea because they treated him like shit, despite what he delivered for them as well. I want him to go to a club that respects him and gives him what he requires, gives him the resources to prove himself because he's a phenomenal manager. He's so criminally underrated. Look at the managers in the top half of the Premier League right now, and he is better. I think, let's see, the only managers I think better than currently working in the Premier League are Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola. I think that's the case. Is Unai Emery better than Rafa Benitez? Maybe, but you're talking in fractions. I don't think anyone can say that with any absolute certainty. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. That's fucking if. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer doesn't. He might as well be a manager of a different sport compared to Rafa. And then you get below that. Brendan Rodgers, good manager, but is he better? No. And then, look, Benitez is a quality manager. I hope he gets a good appointment. And moreover, I hope Newcastle just decide to pull their fucking things. I hope this is just a last game, call my bluff brinksmanship from Benitez. Like, listen, I'm gone. I'm going to go and get another job somewhere else. I'm going to go put my feet up and actually see my wife and kids for a bit. Chill out on the Whittle. Go to the light and go take the kids to Bubbles and all that kind of stuff. But I think they're a bit off for that, but that's fine. Hopefully it's just the last one. It just gives Newcastle a kick up the arse to give him what he wants. But I have no hope of that, and I'm sure Newcastle fans have got no hope of that either. It's an absolute fucking shit show. Anyway, all the best, Rafa. Confiamos en Rafa, as we used to say. I hope he bounces back. I love him to bits. And I hope Newcastle bounce back too. I don't like seeing... Newcastle fans are brilliant. I genuinely love the Newcastle people, and I love the Newcastle fans. I don't want them to have to go through the stuff they've gone through in recent years. But unless they get that ownership situation sorted out, it's going to happen again, unfortunately. Anyway, just my thoughts for what it's worth. Let me know yours in the comments below. Subscribe. I've got an amazing Q&A coming up. I've wrote my missus in to do the 90k Q&A. Anything you want to talk to us about, ask us. You can do. Questions in the comments below or on the community tab as well. See you soon. Ta-da.